I want to begin by saying how grateful I am to each of you who's here reading this. Everyone who clicked, stayed, and followed along. You matter more than I can express. Your support means everything. And if you enjoy this story, think about subscribing. Let's build this journey together. Imagine the moment we hit 5,000 subscribers, a small community built on stories that cut deep, provoke thought, and linger long after they're told. I never expected Betrayal to hit so early in the evening. The wall clock showed 7:42 p.m., its steady ticking pounding through my chest like a countdown to something I didn't want to face. I had just come home from work, still carrying the smell of wet pavement, when I found her stretched across the living room couch with her phone in hand. "I don't have to tell you where I am," she muttered without even glancing up. Her voice sounded casual, but beneath it was a thin layer of annoyance she didn't bother hiding. I froze. I'd heard that tone before, dismissive, sharp, familiar enough to sting, but tonight it sliced deeper, intentional. "I'm just asking," I said quietly, trying to keep my voice steady. "I want to know." She rolled her eyes, tapping her screen. "Seriously, it's none of your business." Heat crawled up my chest, a dull pressure tightening my throat. My thoughts started spiraling. Was I imagining things, or had I ignored too many signs? The missed messages, the supposed late nights at work, the change in how she smelled when she walked through the door. Little red flags I had convinced myself were harmless. I followed her outside. My heart was thundering so loudly it drowned everything else out. I didn't want to fight, not even a little. I didn't want accusations or drama. I just needed the truth, and something deep in my gut warned me I was about to find it. She walked quickly, phone in hand, headphones resting around her neck. "I'm meeting a friend," she tossed back. "Don't worry about it." But then I caught sight of a name on her screen, a man's name I'd never seen before. My chest seized. For a moment I tried to be reasonable. Maybe it was a coworker, maybe it was nothing, but instinct told me otherwise. I kept my distance as she stepped inside a nearby cafe. My hands were shaking so hard I had to grip the steering wheel just to steady myself. Through the glass, I watched her laugh, a soft, effortless laugh I hadn't heard directed at me in months. Then he walked in. Tall, confident, the type of man who drew attention without trying. She stood and hugged him, not the quick, polite hug you give a friend. Her entire body leaned into his. The sight knocked the breath out of me. They slipped into a quiet corner, talking low, their gestures close, familiar, intimate. I wanted to look away, wanted to pretend none of it was real. But I couldn't. My love kept me rooted there, chained to a truth I never wanted to meet face to face. A waiter dropped off drinks, and their hands brushed. She smiled, that smile, the one she hadn't given me in years. Soft. Secretive. Meant for someone who wasn't me. I sat in my car staring through the window, feeling like a stranger in my own story. I replayed every argument, every "I'm busy," every ignored call. All the times she snapped at me for asking simple questions. I had swallowed the unease again and again, choosing denial because it was easier than accepting what was happening. An hour drifted by. I couldn't make myself move. Inside the cafe, life carried on. Outside, November's cold crept through the windshield and settled in my bones. Then she stood up. My heart collapsed as she walked out hand in hand with him, laughing softly, their closeness almost casual, so natural it made me sick. I trailed them to a nearby hotel. Every step felt heavy, each breath harder than the last. When they slipped inside together, the last thin thread of denial snapped clean. I slumped back in my seat as grief and fury crashed over me. The truth was sharp enough to cut, settling deep like shards of glass. My mind spun in circles. How long? Why me? Was I ever enough? The drive home blurred into a smear of streetlights and questions that burned. The apartment was dark when I stepped inside, but her presence still clung to everything, like smoke after a fire. The mugs in the sink, the faint scent of her perfume, her phone charging quietly on the table. All of it felt like evidence in a case I never agreed to be part of. I picked up her phone. Nothing explicit, nothing blatant. Just messages to him. carefully worded, intimate in ways only the two of them understood. My stomach twisted. I felt foolish, furious, wounded, grieving the woman I thought I knew while realizing a stranger had taken her place. Hours passed before she finally came home. I was waiting in the dark. Her laughter reached me before she did. Light, carefree, almost taunting. "Where were you?" I asked, my voice trembling despite my effort to steady it. She stopped, annoyance flashing across her face. "Why do you care so much? I already told you I don't have to report where I go." I wanted to explode, to drop the truth on her like a bomb, but all that came out was a whisper. "I saw you." She froze, not with confusion, but with guilt. A small shift in her shoulders, a flicker in her eyes. "What do you mean you saw me?" she said, trying to cover what I had already seen. "I followed you," I said, my voice cracking. "I saw who you were with. I saw everything." Her eyes darted away and back again, and there it was, the shame, the defensiveness, the fracture in her calm facade. It's not what you think," she began, but the words collapsed halfway out. I stood up, rage and heartbreak clashing violently inside me. "Then tell me. Because from where I'm standing, everything I trusted, everything I believed in, it's gone."
She didn't speak. She didn't even try.
She simply turned and walked to her room, as if shutting the door would somehow protect her from the destruction she caused. I sat alone for a long time. Silent apartment, ticking clock, my heart replaying every moment I'd witnessed, every lie I had willingly swallowed. I realized betrayal doesn't always come with proof. It slips through body language, through forced smiles, through silence and subtle truths that can't be hidden. And I understood something even harder. The life I had trusted, the love I thought was solid, wasn't mine anymore. The worst part wasn't the cheating. It was watching everything I depended on slowly unravel thread by thread. I left the apartment that night, wandering through the empty streets, the cold settling deep under my skin. I didn't know if I'd return. I didn't know if I even wanted to. What I did know was this. The woman I loved had shown me who she really was, and there was no going back.